Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Hessian Scrum podcast. Joining me today is none other than Jonas Bryssling of now Retromorphosis and formerly of Spawn of Possession. Um, Thank you very much for joining us. We're incredibly excited. You've released three songs that we can hear now, and your album comes out in 5 days.
Yeah, yeah. On Friday, it's going to be released.
Yep. So, I remember when you first posted the demo. This was like 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah,
And what I noticed is that you really went back to your old school death metal roots.
yeah. I got into listening to death metal again, and that made me very itchy to start write again. So yeah, that's basically it. I found back to my early inspiration of old school death metal, but not only old bands, but new bands as well, because there's a lot of new bands playing that style now. So that got me really itchy, and I wanted to write something.
Because, Incurso was such an intense album, production, playing wise, everything. I even saw interviews where you said, it took everything out of you. Like, did you need that time to rest?
Yeah, Incurso was pretty brutal. Yeah, I was pretty burned out after that. We did one tour, and after that, I just remember I was just so tired of it. And yeah, it was really fun to write it. But when we had to record it and we had to tour, and it just became a little bit too much, I think. So yeah, I have, but actually, but I never stopped writing. I kept writing even after the tour. I wrote some new Spawn stuff, and then I felt I didn't have enough time for it, so I disbanded the band, and we're done with it. And after that, I just kept writing, and I wrote mostly old school sounding death metal and some black metal and some other things. So I had this long period of just writing random stuff, without any pressure or any special goal or anything. Just writing because it's fun.
Yeah, so you always feel the need to create, right? Like it's in your blood at this point.
Yeah, it is. I don't feel it all the time. I can have long breaks, but it always come back. I see you have a cat too. Yeah, yeah. I feel. Yeah, it basically feels that I have to do it. I have to do something. So. And when I was younger, I was drawing a lot and painting. So I always thought I would be some kind of painter when I got older, but I found music instead. So I have always been creative, I guess.
Yeah, because throughout your career, right, with the music, there's always this kind of strong aesthetic with the samples, the lyrics, the visuals.
Your sound almost disappeared over
Sorry, I was just saying, yeah, that was the cat messing up everything. I was saying,
here. Yeah.
your music always had a very strong aesthetic element. You used a lot of samples. You have a lot of very strong visuals. The lyrics are very evocative.
Yeah, it's we were very inspired by horror movies and paranormal things that happens in real life. So try to we try to kind of build our own little universe with all these things happening, demons and whatnot.
Yeah. So, one thing that's really interesting, I felt that, reading about Retromorphosis and being excited is that you seemed frustrated with how technical Spawn of Possession was getting.
Yeah, and we had this rule that we have always we have to push. So uh, next album had to be even more intense than in Cursor, and I don't think I can play more intense than in Cursor. It's pretty much the limit for me because the songs are so long and they are also completely relentless. So next album would be like a double vinyl with only 10-minute songs. So, it would be too much. So I thought it was really nice when we disbanded it because I think uh, it felt like we had painted ourselves into to a corner, basically.
Because,
And,
sorry.
and I don't want to break any rules because we made those rules in the beginning. So, and I don't want to just uh, break the rules and try to come up with something simpler because just to keep the band alive. I want to, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I was just saying, the last song on Incurso, Apparition, has a very heavy atmosphere. It does kind of let up on the intensity a bit.
Yeah, and I think it's a good song to end the band with. So I don't want to keep. Yeah, it's a good ending, I think. It's not the most complicated song. It's probably the easiest song on the whole album, but it was really fun to use orchestra and shows and everything and write those instruments as well. So yeah, it's a nice song.
Mm. 'Cause, from the three songs that you published, right, leading up to the new album, what I really appreciated is that this time you're focusing a lot more on the melodies, like you did on Cabinet.
Okay. Yes.
Yes, can you tell us more about, how do these melodies come to you and how do you write them? Because they're moving all the time. It's very intense, very fast, but they still feel very melodic, like you remember them.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's one thing is maybe since we played melodic death metal before Spawn and Possession, we had a melodic death metal band, and also I'm a big fan of Bach and some of the early melodic death metal bands like Eucharized, Edge of Sanity, Dissection, maybe. Some bands have really great melodies. So, but I don't want to have the same type of melodies, so I kind of have my own little weird thing going where I want a lot of tension in them. And I don't want them to be like only beautiful or if the melody is beautiful, I want to corrupt it in some ways because that makes it builds up a lot of tension when you do that. So I have maybe a little bit different view on how to use melodies.
Yeah, also I noticed a very oriental sounding edge, much stronger, especially on the tree.
Okay.
Yeah, is that something that was intentional? Were you listening to some oriental music, or did that just come from?
No, it just came when I was playing, so and it felt it was the right thing to put in that song, so it's just natural, nothing I have been thinking of.
One thing that I've always found really fascinating with your music is that, when you guys started to get big in the kind of early 2000s, a lot of guys were getting very technical, but death metal, it didn't feel aggressive or like metal anymore. It just felt like people playing these, oh, look how fast I can go. But Spawn of Possession, no matter how technical you got, you always had an aggressive edge.
Yeah, well, I think that's a big problem with technical death metal. It's so nice sounding. It's very little death metal left. It's probably why I don't listen to it that much. I don't listen to it at all. I prefer, ordinary death metal because they have kept the type of melodies and the atmosphere and the groove, the riffs and all that. But in technical death metal, it's mostly about playing as fast as possible with as many notes as possible, a lot of tapping and arpeggios, and it sounds a little bit too yeah. And the production is usually very very clean. So yeah, you're right about that. The death metal thing has disappeared over the years.
Mm. Because it's funny because despite, Spawn of Possession being technical, I've never considered, or, Spawn of Possession or Retromorphosis to be technical death metal. I consider it death metal that has a lot of high level musicianship.
Yes, you are absolutely right about that. We never called ourselves technical death metal from the beginning. We called us we were playing American death metal. That's what we said. But when Cabinet was released, everybody called it technical death metal. So we played technical death metal, I guess. So and now it's a whole sub-genre. So it makes sense, I guess. No, always focused on making good songs. So the technical thing was not the main thing. It was just it was a tool, and we had a lot of fun playing that intense. It's really fun, and you have to practice a lot, and it's a challenge to write songs that are that intense and still make sense how it's, if you understand what I
Yeah,
mean. Yes.
exactly. And I've also noticed that your songs have structure. It's not just random notes or whatever. For example, you take Swarm of the Formless, right? You have that main melody it always goes back to. How do you structure such complex songs?
I learned from listening to like Metallica and Anthrax, a little bit Black Sabbath, I guess. So I don't copy their style, but if you take like Master of Puppets, the song,
Mm.
in the middle they have this big instrumental part. So I really like Iron Maiden use that too. They also have this instrumental parts in the middle of the songs. So I really wanted to have that because if we have that, we can be more experimental, and we can have this big high, or what do you call it? Highlights isn't probably not the right word, but the song builds up to something.
Yeah, climax.
So, yeah, a climax. So it's not just only, like chorus and ordinary riffs. You have something more in each song. So that was really fun. And I know most bands don't do that, but we do that in every song. So, so it's kind of funny. I don't think we have any song that doesn't have that in the middle.
Yeah, definitely. So now for the hard question. You have four-fifths of the band members returning, but you chose to go for a new name.
Yeah, because this retromorphosis is not about pushing like we did in Spawn. So I thought the best thing is to call it something else. And retromorphosis could be we could change over the albums without problem. We could release a Death Doom album if we want, or a EP or something. We could do whatever we want with Retromorphosis. With Spawn, we couldn't do that. Everything has to be intense, intense, intense forever, you know. So, yeah.
So, I want to, explore, more of your kind of songwriting style because, you obviously have no connection to technical death metal, but where did it come to you, the idea of like, I can make this more complex, I can add more notes, make this faster, etc.
Oh, it was listening to Suffocation and Cannibal Corpse, D-Side, Morbid Angel, Monstrosity, you know, all those American bands.
Yes, of course.
So that's what's inspired me to start playing more intense and technical. Because I listened to that and I got, you know, like goosebumps and stuff. So of course I wanted to play same type of music. So that's what but the funny thing is when we started, there were no playthroughs or tab, anything. So we had no clue how they play it. So we had to just our own imagination, how we played it. And I think that that might have made our style a little bit more unique, maybe because we didn't try to copy anyone, really. We tried to found our own style, but still playing that style of death metal.
Yeah, because it is true. When you do say monstrosity, I do think, Spawn of Possession is in many ways a kind of spiritual successor to Millennium, their second album, Monstrosity second album.
Yeah, it's a great. The two first albums, they
Yes,
are
Imperial Doom.
fantastic, fantastic albums.
Um, so let's talk about some of the, the other musicians you're working with. Dennis Rondum has always been with you since day one. He was a drummer. Now he's focused mainly on vocals. How does that partnership work?
Yeah, we were friends before we started to play together, but of course we work really, really good together. We did since the first day we started to write together. You know, we have the same. We like the same things, and we look for the same things. So, but he has a slightly different view, which adds more to the music and he's great, and I think the way he write the patterns for the song, the singing vocal patterns, they're amazing. They work so well with the riffs. So yeah, we work really good, well together. Always had.
Yep. And of course, Erland does not let himself kind of take a back seat. He's also playing, these kind of counter melodies on top and everything.
Yeah, he adds a lot of his own stuff into the songs. I usually write the basic bass tab, but he you know he puts in his own things in there, like fast arpeggios and I don't know. He's all over adding stuff, so it's really fun to listen to.
Yeah. And also we can't forget, Christian Munzner, who's been in a lot of bands, involved in a lot of albums over the years. How does it feel working with him?
Oh, it's super easy. You know, he's basically the best lead guitar player in death metal. So, you know, I don't have to say much. I just send him the riffs and maybe I have some suggestions how to approach it, but that's it. I don't have to say much. He's super easy and he works fast and he understands music so well. So you know it's with all the guys. You know I don't have to tell them anything. I just say this is death metal and it's going to be very dark and a little bit weird sometimes and melancholic, and you just tell them a few words and then they go off and do their thing. So,
So you
so
don't feel the need to control anything?
no, no, I don't. So Dennis do his vocals patterns, and Christian does his solos, Alan does his bass, and Casey does his drums. Of course, he follows uh, my drum patterns, which I have written, but I think he adds his own stuff as well.
Mm. So, you know, obviously a lot of the kind of the children you've had with Spawn of Possession, right? They just focus on the technicality. How do you how do you write technical, complex music that is intense, but without falling into that kind of redundant pattern?
Yeah, yeah, I heard some riffs from other bands who play technical, and they sound like exercises almost. It doesn't sound like music really. It sounds more like some exercise. No, I write. Yeah, I can explain this. When I started playing guitar, I had a friend who had a lot of tab books. And one day when I was visiting him, he showed me Jimi Hendrix tab book, and it was tabbed from a live performance. So, and I looked at the tab, and it was, Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah, of
He's
course.
all over the guitar, and the notation was really sick. It was every little thing you can imagine was written into it. So it's like improvisation that has been written down. So when I saw that, I kind of realized that. You just have to let yourself go when you play. You got to have this exciting feeling to begin with, but then you just improvise, and you will have something in your head. You really want to have. Let's say, I want to have a groovy riff, or maybe some evil sounding melody, or some crazy chaotic riff. I just improvise with that exciting feeling, and so I really don't think in theoretical terms at all. I just improvise. So it's a very organic uh, process.
Mm. I mean, do you have a background in music? Did you study music in any shape or form?
Yeah, I studied classical guitar for 3 years. I wasn't amazing on it, but I had a lot of fun. We did a lot of concerts, and I had to play a lot of stuff where I would probably not have played if I hadn't gone there. So yeah, it was, and we had got to see a lot of classical concerts for free. Amazing concerts with crazy guitarists and string quartets and piano concerts, a lot of modern music. Uh, so it was really interesting. That was really inspiring, and to meet other musicians as well.
Mm. So I'm guessing, so when you're writing your riffs, you do have an like a theoretical understanding of what you're doing, but you try to ignore it.
Uh, I have a Yeah, I think I have a basic understanding. Uh, that's most basically, what do you say, subconscious, maybe. I really don't. I think I probably think about what key I play in, and the next riff should probably be in the same key. Things like that. But I mostly improvise. I do. But yeah, you could probably break it down and explain it in some theoretical way, but I don't. I just not very interested in that in that thing. I just improvise, and if I like what I hear, I record it and write it down, and that's how I work.
So let's go back to Salmus Mortis, right? So, because
Yes.
only three songs have been released. I mean, are there going to be any surprises on the album? Something that we're not expecting?
Yeah, it's one song that's very long. It's 9 minutes. I don't know if it's epic. Maybe it's a little bit epic. It's very long, and but it doesn't feel long, I think, because a lot of stuff is happening in it. So yeah, that song is a little bit special. Uh, it stands out, I think, because the other songs are more pure death metal. The long song is a little bit more melodic and not so super intense like the others.
Mm. So, it's crazy that you still have the passion for this kind of music, despite, playing very intense music for such a long time with little breaks, large tours, and everything. At this point of your life, why do you keep coming back to it?
Oh, it's because it's so fun to write. It's really fun. It's when you release an album, you get this sense of peace inside, and I want that peace. I think that's one driving force. You have this creative thing going, and you just feel you have to do something, and you work for it, and all of a suddenly it's finished, and then you get some peace, you know. I have a lot of anxiety and problems like that, and that gives me peace to be creative.
Mm, all right. So, what are some current, death metal bands you're listening to? Are you still in listening, actively seeking out metal, listening to newer bands? Because I saw that you were listening to a lot of thrash bands on your Facebook profile.
Yeah, that was a couple of years ago. I went through a lot of fresh metal bands. I wanted to find new albums I could buy, so I just had this list, and I just went through all those albums. Yeah, I still check out new bands, and I buy vinyls, and there's a lot of good bands in death metal today, still. So yeah.
What are some bands you listen to currently?
Oh, like Corpses and Sorcery, Crypts, Putinans, Sonadam doesn't exist anymore, unfortunately.
Mm.
And what else? Father Befouled, Incantation, old band. Sorcery is also old band. Putinans as well. But there's a lot of new bands playing, old school raw death metal, and the recordings are really nice as well because it sounds very organic. It's not Pro Tooled to death or anything. It sounds very organic and lively. I like that. A little bit rough and
Yeah.
dirty, and it sounds real. It sounds like a real band.
All right. I've got two more questions, so this is the penultimate one. One thing I've noticed is that you've had this kind of mission to watch everything related to the Amityville horror.
Yeah, the funny thing is, I was just checking on if some new Amityville movie had been ripped and released on internet, but I couldn't find anyone. Yeah, that was. Uh, I really like the two first movies they made. They are some of my favorite movies ever. So one day I was Googling on it, and I found this list with all these new Amityville movies, and I was so surprised, and because I hadn't heard anything about them. And most of them are so crappy, low budget. The actors are terrible, the scripts are terrible. The special effects are terrible, but some of them are really funny. But a lot of crappy movies. Yeah, it was just a fun thing to watch them on.
I'll stick to the original. That's probably the best one.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, so for my final question, what can we expect from you and Retromorphosis in the future?
You should expect more albums. I'm getting really itchy to start write again. So as soon everything calms down a little bit, I will start writing immediately and start working on new songs.
All right, perfect. Any final words?
No, not really. Check out the album if you have time for it.
Yeah, Salmus Mortis, 21st of February. Get it. I'll be getting myself a vinyl.
Oh, great.
All right, well, thank you very much, Eunice. We wish you all the best, and we can't wait to hear the album.
Yeah, thank you.